a completely different SoaR that we're going to see here today.
I hope so. I definitely hope they show up. I think another thing which you can touch on is that Dig have a lot of LAN experience as well. I mean, you look at Variety, KivoFred, Zeros, and Trickstank. They've been a staple throughout the SMITE, kind of the lifelong competitive scene of SMITE. Arkil, you know, recently coming in and playing very well at LAN last year, but we'll see how he comes into this tournament.
Dignitas are certainly a very, very strong team, especially when you look at the players individually. All of their mechanics have always been considered at the top of EU. You've got Variety, who's being regarded as one of the best, if not the best solo laner in EU right now. Then there's Kivo and Trix. I mean, that's the dynamic duo. Can't really go wrong there. Zeros has always been a stellar feller, and you've got Arkil, the Hunter player. He's always done great.
You mentioned all those players, but I'm looking at which Team Dignitas shows up today, because Variety from Season 3 was a lot different of Variety from Season 1 and Season 2. Which Variety will show up? Arkil as well has made a huge statement in Season 3 with Sanguine at that LAN, but the question is, which Arkil is truly going to shine today?
And some very interesting bans already coming through from both of these teams, especially when you think about how it was the Thoth and Fafnir that we saw being eliminated by Dignitas, and then the Ra actually being banned away by SoaR themselves. And that's two gods that Andy tends to lean on.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the Ra go away from SoaR. I thought that would be definitely something that Andy would look towards. I think it's probably the god he's had the most success on in the split. So it'll be interesting to see how this draft unfolds, see if you know, if he has something up his sleeve, maybe?
It seems that Ra is just one of these gods where it's just a staple pick for not only Anister, but also for Zyros, being able to find the long snipes, and the sustain is just very obnoxious to deal with if you're not the one to have it. So trying to figure it out in the picks and bans, both of these teams trying to get their own comfort picks in the first game.
Hazer, do you feel as though a lot of the players from these teams share some pretty similar god pools?
Aha! It was swapped. It was swapped. The Ra was banned by Team Dig. That makes a lot more sense to me because no, I do not feel like they share a lot of gods in the same god pools. I think maybe in the jungle role we'll see a few overlapping picks, but I think in mid, Zeros kind of has a different style than Andinster. And we see SoaR lock in the Cabrakan here, something which NA has obviously largely favored and something which Kivo and Trick looked towards when they were on that squad of Orbit GG. So maybe this is something that SoaR have looked at and decided to take away straight away.
That is a possible flex pick, and it's also just a favored pick in NA as a whole. And Dignitas, I'm sure, are more than aware that we have seen EU stray more away from this Cabrakan. They don't seem to value it as much. And I've gotten the opinion before of AlphaJacker earlier today and Anorexia even why Cabrakan isn't too heavily prioritized. Do you share a lot of the same sentiments?
Yeah, I just think if you play around him, if you play around the slow immunity, if you hit him with hard CC, he's not going to do as much as some warriors that come out of the solo lane, and other guardians, you know, provide better peel. So I would say that, yeah, EU definitely favors sort of the Osiris Bellona solo laners in the early picks. And we've seen Amaterasu locked in, another kind of flex pick that could go solo, that could go support.
It tends to be one of Jigs' favored gods, though, so I would imagine that it would probably be leaning more towards the support role for Jigs, just considering how much peel and potential passive... The passive buff really is the big standout point for the Amaterasu, but I'm looking more towards Team Dignitas and their first two selections of the Terra and Carnunos. And how do you feel about Carnunos?
I think he's very, 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 very strong. I think he has a little bit of control, and he has crazy damage in that summer stance. So I think that's definitely a good pickup for Arkil. Arkil is going to look to make plays, get solo kills, and I think Carnunos is a god that absolutely suits him.
Well, Arkil can be making plays on the Carnunos, but Anister is going to be looking for those plays on the Scylla. The question is, what kind of setup is he going to have? Because if Jigs is playing the Amaterasu, you're only relying on that ultimate for the stun effect to find that. Cabrakan could potentially be played by Homie Efe, but more than likely, that's looking like Final K potentially.
And we're looking for the setup for SoaR Gaming, but how do you feel? I'd imagine you expect that Robin to be going the way of jungle?
Absolutely, yeah. I think Robin jungle is very, very strong. I mean, we see it's only won 50% of games so far this event, but I think it's possibly the strongest jungler in the game. And we see Terra picked up as well, which I think Terra's just superb. We see 3 out of 4 wins so far this tournament, and I think that Dignitas' draft so far is basically everything they would have wanted.
And if it is the Robin jungle, can we expect Kivo to try running the Sunder like we've seen from the other Robin jungles so far today?
Absolutely. I think one of the best things about Robin is you don't really need that Beads of Rigas. He's got the tankiness coming in from the ult, and he's got the 2 to immune damage. So yeah, I definitely think the Sunder is an amazing pickup on Robin, especially if you can upgrade it.
And with the SoaR being the 4th selection here for Team Dignitas, that's a pretty scary lineup when you think about it. There's plenty of survivability and distributed evenly among all of these lanes. And SoaR is a very strong pick for Zeros in particular, considering the immunity that her 3 can provide. That's a ton of peel against the Scylla.
Taking the Fatalis effect away from the 3, but still has a lot of defensive options within her kit. Could potentially look to build into the Fatalis, which would make up for the lackluster Hunter performance that SoaRs have been experimenting with, instead relying more on their mage capabilities, considering the scaling on both her Stellar Burst and the Supernova.
Yeah, there are builds that you can go on SoaR where the ultimate, if you hit every hit, is actually doing 2.7k damage, by the way. So that can hurt quite hard. This is something that Zeros came up to me with. We see the Athena Medusa locked in. That's a classic combo, you know, taunt into the stun. So it looks like, is that going to be an Athena solo? Is that something that SoaR are likely to run?
I would probably still, at this point with the Athena being locked in, I would prefer to see Athena in the support role for Jigs, just because of how classic that combination is. And you can never really go wrong with Athena Medusa. Plus, Athena as a whole just seems to be a very strong pick at the moment. But before anything else, Team Dignitas is going to make their final selection as Erlong Shen. And Hazer, you know better than I do when it comes to EU. How do you feel about this draft in game number 1?
So I like every god that Dig have picked. I'm not a huge fan of Erlang Shen, but I guess it does give a little bit of extra control, which the Terra and Raven are slightly lacking. So I think that's probably a good pickup. Maybe they could have gone for a Guardian there, like an Emir, if it wasn't banned away. But yeah, I definitely like this Dig lineup, and I could see them, you know, squeezing out a win here. Aggressive
gods, aggressive players, Team Dig all the way.
Team Dig all the way. Well, it'll be interesting to see who actually does end up taking game number 1, and we've got Hindu and FTOT standing by.
Hey, thank you very much. What's good, fans? We're here for the final set of our day here in quarterfinals for Friday before the real business gets breaking open in the semis. And of course, the finals on Sunday. Dig right here. Well, they got the Kernanos, they got the Raven, they got all the flavor of the week gods.
They do.
But SoaR on the other side, a little bit more traditional.
Consistent as well. I like the forms of CC and setup they're going to have here. This Athena can cause a lot of problems for the side of Dignitas, especially if it's got a little by a Petrify or an I'm a Monster or a Sikkim. Yeah. We're going to be seeing that from SoaR as time goes on. This is a really close set though, FDOT. A lot of people here, from what I've been listening to, don't have much hope in SoaR. But me personally, I think this could still go 3 games.
Here's what happens. Here's the story of SoaR. So SoaR came in, superstar team on paper, and they just didn't perform well. Then halfway through the season, their solo laner, Benji, kind of throws them a curveball and straight up just bounces off the team midweek, so they have to forfeit. From there, they pick up FineOK, who's a Challenger Cup player, and they obviously stutter step, going from Benji, who is one of the stronger players, to FineOK, an unproven, as I said, Pro-Am type player. Now, they've had a number of weeks to really ramp up, and although they were kind of not good at all at first with Mr. FineOK, they have definitely gotten a little bit better, a little bit stronger, and a little bit more aware of this gank on the left side.
Cheeky little flank coming out from Dignitas there, but unfortunately that Bramble Blast did not hit. If it did, could have spelled a bit of trouble there for SoaR in the early game, but it's 2-on-2 in the duo. In the mid lane, it's 2-on-2 as well, both junglers involved. And in the solo lane, there's an advantage for FineOK because he did start with Hog, and that's why he's starting at the blue buff.
And so I think what a lot of people that have this negative thought process about SoaR, I think they're stuck on SoaR from week number 4 of the spring split. They haven't really looked at where SoaR is coming from, how much they've improved, and all that time that we haven't seen them, don't forget, they're practicing, they're scrimming, they're squatting up, and more importantly, they're building that synergy with FineOK, allowing them to do this. Jigs the player, Amaterasu support is his favorite, but he needs the support elsewhere by way of crowd control. Athena solo, something that FineOK does on his Challenger Cup team, bam, works out for SoaR. We'll see if it works in this game here.
Now, with how this game has started as well, Dig got off to a very good start in the mid lane overall. That's generally down not to the fact that Raven's push power is insane, it's pretty good, but it's because he's got that threat of Sunder, and you can see SoaR respected that. They had to give up their own speed buff on the right-hand side as they look to invade, and it's given Team Dignitas a comfortable lead for now, but now that SoaR has taken their own buffs, things have evened up for a second.
So I want to bring attention to this soul here in the mid lane for Team Dignitas.
Yeah.
Zeros likes weird stuff. That's always been Zeros' claim to fame. The man once played Vulcan in the jungle, for God's sakes. He loves doing weird things.
Yep.
But there's usually a method to his madness. He's abrasive, he's aggressive, but he's intelligent. So where do you think Zeros is coming from with this SoaR?
Disapparate. That's all I need to
That's
say.
what I was looking for?
That one ability, Disapparate, is going to get him out of so many sticky situations. Remember, he can go through the walls of Homie Efe and the Cabrakan if he gets in trouble. But wait a second, it's Trix is in trouble.
Oh, this is going to be first blood here, Hindu Man. Meditation might have turned that around. Homie Efe catches up,
Stuns.
drops the ground pound, and drops the support. Trix tank is first blood for SoaR.
First rotation out of SoaR is to the duo lane. No messing around whatsoever. This is business as usual. Both these teams are both going to be trying to feel each other out at the start of this one. SoaR with a slight advantage, I want to say, just because they came to the gauntlet 2 weeks ago. It gave them a little bit of performance at LAN, which allows them to get rid of some of those jitters early on.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's something to be said. I think there's a little bit to be said about playing competitive SMITE 2 weeks ago versus the full 4 or 5 weeks from the regular season. But I think that's just it. Just a little bit to be said. I think at the end of the day, Dignitas is a very strong team, and the fact that they're not new here. Arkle is the newest player, and he's no rookie. So when you look at the other 4 guys, these guys have been to countless lands. I mean, literally, I couldn't count off the top of my head. So when it comes down to that, Hindu, I don't know how much I buy into that one.
Looking at FineOK right now, I like his position in this lane. He's just allowing to variety to farm. He's not going to go and try and clear. He has a feeling that Cuvo's hanging, and guess what? Cuvo is hanging around here. This is good communication early on from SoaR. It's something that they kind of struggled with in the gauntlet, to be honest. One of the reasons of their downfall to Rival was...
I mean, it's also part of playing Athena in the solo lane.
Sure.
Your clear is not going to be that strong right away. You got to use both your dash and your shield wall, and more importantly, you want to group up those minions. So allowing the enemy to go ahead and clear out the wave allows you to go ahead and grab the entirety of the minion wave, aggro it out, create a circle, and then drop down that shield wave.
FineOK's job in this lane is to make sure that Variety doesn't get the tier 1 tower, doesn't get many kills, and when it comes to teamfight stages, try and out-trade him with the Athena ultimate coming into the correct location you need it, whereas Variety has to use that teleport or manually rotate around the map.
Right, Athena starts off with a Hand of the Gods, and she's going to cheat just a little bit. She'll be using that ultimate to return to lane just like that, landing on her jungler, Homie Efe. So instead of picking up the teleport by way of the relic, she's going to cheat and teleport to lane by way of her teammate.
Well, that's one thing Variety's going to watch this game, is recognizing when that Athena ult is on cooldown. If he can catch when FineOK backs, he knows the Athena ult's available. If he randomly appears back in the solo lane very quickly, you know without teleport that he's already used the ultimate, which is a chance for Dignitas to get aggressive.
At the same time, I mean, the Athena ultimate's on a lower cooldown than that of the teleport, so sure, Variety's going to play the game like he plays against any other solo laner, except for the fact that he's got a super TP.
Sunder used by Cuvo going under the tower. The Rui's good.
Look at
the
the wall.
walls are better.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. The separation via Homie Efe made sure that Cuvo and Variety could not collapse on a FineOK. Just that little window is all the Athena player needed to make sure that he escaped out of there. No sweat, no problem. Well done by the jungler.
And going back to that first pressure that we saw Cuvo Fred just hanging in the jungle, that's what would have happened to FineOK if he would walked up to the wave in the first place to try and clear it. That is the sort of danger field that he walks into in this lane right now. Once he gets a couple more items online, though, comes a little bit more tricky to bring down the Athena 100-0.
Listen, Athena is a powerful character. We've seen her played in the jungle before. That means she's going to be able to have that clear with the pen boots. She's going to be able to have that clear in the solo lane as well. This is not a slouch. I mean, I've been watching Athena jungle going back to the days of Dignitas when Anatoly was a pro. That's how long ago we've seen it. And Lazard used to run this character, and all of a sudden, shield wall, taunt with the double proc, you're starting to chunk people for 20%.
Now, talking about more comps as well, you can see that both teams have drafted 3 frontliners technically. You've got Trix Tank on the you've got Trix Tank on the left-hand side playing the Terror, as well as Raven and Erlang Shen. Whereas SoaR, they've got FineOK on the Athena, Homie Efe, Cabrakan, Jigs on the Amaterasu. This puts actually a lot of pressure on these damage dealers to stay alive in these fights. And coming back to what your original point was about this SoaR in the mid lane, one thing that you can't do is deal damage if you're dead, and that Disapparate will get him out of clutch situations, potentially going forward.
Yes, yeah, I like the Soul pick in a meta where Poseidon is rampant and the Scylla just as much. Soul's going to be able to immune a lot of that nonsense. Homie Efe drops his ultimate, not going to find a kill, but look at the rotation from Arkle. Here he is, drops the brambles on the backside, and he's getting ready. Nobody's controlled, so the ultimate not going to be used.
Interesting choice though, because once the Athena ult came out, you saw Dignitas sort of renege on continuing that engagement. Back away from the fight, they were looking for the pick on Homie, and they might still be doing that actually after, because Homie Efe's lazy backing.
Oh, he's going to get caught up by Arkle, and he's coming down the lane. Trix Tank finds this done. Couple of basics out of Arkle. Here's the third player. Cuvo Fred shows up. Nice little stun, but it's just a simple reprieve before Cuvo Fred puts him in the ground.
So it's 1 for 1 there, but I don't understand how SoaR got themselves a little bit discombobulated down that left-hand side as well. What you ended up seeing there was that everybody just kind of hung around and waited patiently for a moment or two.
Right side, Team Dignitas is getting a little bit frisky. 1 on 3. We're seeing Variety go ahead and try to invade the speed bump, and he might just get away with it. Fine, okay, charting the dash. There's a slow. There's a little bit of damage. Watch this. Chunk!
But meanwhile, what's going on, F-Dot? Left-hand side, Gold Fury's down. Variety got the buff, but not only did he get the buff, he baited them long enough to allow Dignitas to do a sneaky, sneaky backdoor Gold Fury.
SMITE 101 classes in session. Variety is your adjunct professor here, making sure that everybody understands when there's too much weight on the right-hand side of the map, you go ahead and you take advantage on the left, making the first objective of the game go the direction of Team Dignitas. And that'll put them up just a little bit by about 500, 700 gold.
Now going back to SoaR as well, they did play in the Gauntlet. That was important for them as well.
All right.
And with the Gauntlet, with what happened there, Zeros does have a quick pause going on here. SoaR managed to get to the Gauntlet and have a good time, and that allowed them to be in a really, really good position and actually allow them to continue to pressure as time went on.
So it's 2-1 at the moment, 22,000 gold, pretty much
I'm
even.
Dig.
As I said, I'm SoaR apparently.
I'm going to win.
I'm just SoaR from this cast.
Me too.
Pauses are going on right now, a little bit of technical difficulties with the players. As we get more information, we'll feed that to you, of course. But at the moment, really what we're looking here is a very even setup. We've seen some starts off from SoaR, some starts off from the other guys. I'm really not excited either way. I think both teams are just off to a slow start.
Before the pause, though, we saw SoaR go to the Gauntlet. Their first LAN performance as a team was pretty solid. Got themselves to the finals, obviously, to make it to Masters here. But it wasn't as crisp and clean as they would have liked. One thing we've not really discussed is the fact that Dignitas as a squad haven't been to LAN together before.
Sure.
So it's a lot of a learning experience for these guys to be able to find the synergies amongst the team, get used to the setup. Obviously, they've all been here before and hung out, but it's a different story when you've got to play in game together.
That's also the scuttlebutt around the scene, is the fact that these guys haven't exactly gelled perfectly together just yet. Still a work in progress. So this first LAN, very, very important. Back to the action, 8 minutes on the clock, 2-1. Read the kills, we've got a very even game here, folks. Final K is going to get harassed a little bit by Variety and jungler Cubo Fred, but got a jungler of his own. Homie FA shows up. Variety and Cubo don't want to dive.
Dancing the Oracles on the left-hand side as Dignitas get their way with them once again, just allowing themselves to stay a little bit further ahead than that of their opponents thanks to that Gold Fury that went down a little bit earlier on as well. So it's put them in a good spot for the time being. Arkil on the Kurnos. Kurnos very much talked about, but at the same time, we've not seen ridiculous amounts out of him just yet, but he has been pretty consistent from what we can tell.
I really like this matchup for Vedium specifically. Vedium is a guy that, you know, doesn't really want to take all the fights. And by playing the Medusa, he can kind of just sit back, toss his ability on the wave, and play it safe. Guess what character that reminds me of, Hindu?
Medusa?
Neith.
Oh.
And that's Vedium's kind of claim to fame, is that Neith character. That's what he's known for. Medusa going to be able to do the same thing, but have a different impact. I don't want to say a more impact, but a different impact by way of team fight.
Well, Medusa's one of these that like to be fair, Vetium, I should say, is one of these that likes to sit back for the most part and focus on his position more often than not. Try and get his abilities off from the back line, stay relatively safe, and then look for the ground and play when he gets support. Just like we saw Homie FA rotate here to the left-hand side onto Arkil, that's when you're the only times you'll ever see Vetium look for aggression.
Fine, okay, looking for Variety here. Has 2 more players in the wings.
Beautiful.
Big crush, the ultimate from the mid lane gonna miss. Here
He's
comes
still dead.
Jigs and looking for the stun. Can't find it. Variety.
But he walked straight into Homie FA. Luckily enough, though, reinforcements for Digger here. Variety got the heal up in time, and it was the turtle more than anything else that bought him enough of a window. But because of that situation on the right-hand side, Dignitas had pressure in mid.
Right, and this time around, left side, the Gold Fury already toast. That's not going to be the opportunity. Dignitas don't really have anything to gain off of it, which is why we saw that attempt. And look at that. That right there, that's the damage I was talking about, Hindu. All she has is boots.
That's true, but the benefit is that Emerald Talisman is coming online for Variety right now. Game for those magical resistance early on against an Athena. He's got to be careful because he's going to eat the Shield Wall Taunt combo quite a bit this game, as well as a Kubrakan that's in the jungle, as well as a Scylla. Magical defense is definitely the order on the table for Variety and actually most of the front line.
Speaking of that Scylla, I don't think it was anything that Variety did that got him out of there. It's the fact that Andy missed the ult.
It's a good point, but the CC chain wasn't correct. So Andy missing the ult doesn't necessarily have to come down to just Andy as a whole. The CC chain could have been a little bit cleaner and it would have secured it. But the turtle form from Variety, because his ult was actually cancelled, then he had to ult again and turtle away.
Sure, if the light is red and my brakes are cut and I go right on through it, that's my fault. because I didn't even try my brakes. I just assumed I could screech to a halt. So I see where you're coming from, but I still got to give it to the mid laner. You didn't like that one. I did.
I know she did. And I was like, K?
My point is, if you're going to play Scylla, that's her whole thing. You have to be able to nail the ultimate. Crush is free damage. It's free damage. It's the size of a football field. I don't care if you're talking American or football. It's that big. Pitch. That's the word, right?
See,
it's that big.
That one was better. That one was better.
Yeah, you like that one?
The Oracles this time around, though, should go the way of SoaR because nobody is here from Dig. Because guess what Dig are doing, F-Dot? They are playing the map so well right now. This is a Gold Fury, a Portal Demon, pressure on the Tier 1 tower, and they're not really making too many mistakes in this. If anything, it's SoaR being ropey-doped in a weird way. They're going right, and the rest of Dig are going left.
Well, right now, Team Dignitas, this is the result of Zeros. Okay, Zeros is an interesting, polarizing figure. When his leadership goes well, he's very intelligent and plays the map like this. This is classic Zeros playstyle. But if you don't buy into what Zeros does, if you do kind of fight with him a little bit, that's exactly what happens. You butt heads, and then you see the result in team fights. Should we go to a listen-in? I'm very curious to see what Team Dignitas listens sounds like when they're winning versus when they're losing.
Oh, for sure. I think they'll be descending the ranks potentially with this squad because they've got a lot of people on this team who do have the ability to have egos, and it's actually because they are of a high level, all these players, but most of them have been shot callers on their teams at one time or another, or come in pairs, like Cuvo and Trix.
You know, we said that with Eager once upon a time. That was the whole big conversation, talking about, do these guys have the egos? Can they do it? Can they get over their end of it?
Sure.
Listen, I didn't buy it then. I don't know if I buy it now with Dig, but I think it's a little bit more realistic knowing these guys. Variety and Zeros definitely are coming together, which is why they've been successful this season. But should things go awry, I don't know.
We talk about the descent in the ranks being a potential threat to every single team, especially when it's a new team as well. But the difference is how they handle it and when they actually find that form of who's in charge. At the end of the day, one person will be in charge, whether it's the person who does the most damage, like whoever's leading the game in the highest level, Obey like to go with that sort of strategy, or it's the support and jungler because they're the ones that see the bigger picture on the map and generally should have more awareness, more than the mid laner or the hunter who just want to kill.
Or it's just Lobster, because you're Lobster.
That's true as well.
I think it has much more to do with the individuals on the teams than you might think.
Fatalis coming out from Zeros here on that Sol in the mid lane as well. Went for the Bancroft start into the Soulstone, and then once he's got boots going as well, Fatalis is the next order of the day. Now this will actually, with the movement speed he gets from Disapparate right now, he's going to be very, very difficult to pin down.
This is going to be a basic attack Soul. This is interesting because my personal view, I stress personal, is that Soul is now a mage. She formerly was a magical hunter. Now she's a mage that happens to have a neat passive that shreds towers. But Zero's still building her with that in-hand mentality. I want to see how it pays off.
Now he's building with the in-hand mentality, but if he continues his build going for power now and not going for any other forms of attack speed, like the rings that are available in the trees for the items, he could just be going for that for the extra mobility, extra safety in these fights, which allows him to just reposition a little bit better. Plus it's got pen, so it's not going to hurt his magical power build in a weird way.
Sure, absolutely, and I think the fourth item will be the telling point right there. The Bancroft kind of hints that he's looking for in-hands, but Bancroft is also just cheap power, and a lot more players have been more accepting of it. So we'll see.
That was beautiful. Well, I don't think he actually got both of them in the end. I like the fact he hesitated trying to get the last hit on the last one.
Yeah.
But he burnt one down first of all, which is very important when you're trying to go for a contested objective like those Oracles. You've got to make sure you get at least one, because getting both low and having the opposition strip them both away is brutal.
One of my favorite things about the Season 4 map, without a doubt, having a non-binary objective there for teams to go ahead and compete over. Listen, if you get it, sweet, then you get vision if the other team does, but you can split it down the middle. You can't split any other buff in SMITE. You can't say, all right, I get the HP 5 and you get the tower damage from the Fire Giant because we both hit him at the same time. One guy's got to win. I love the fact that that's a non-binary objective. I think it was a very cool move.
Do you know what? Most of the time on Reddit, people have been talking recently about the fact that they think SMITE is scripted. Did you see that, Fred?
I didn't.
You didn't? There was a supposedly scripted thread for Masters, right?
Okay.
I'll tell you the script for this game. You ready? And then everyone can if I'm right, then here we go. 22 minutes, one team fight, game over.
Really?
That's where this game's going, because Dignitas are playing to what EU like to do, which is sit back and farm and wait for the picks, wait for the objectives, wait for the right opportunity.
Sure.
And SoaR, generally, they're normally a little bit more hot-headed. At least Homie FA will go off a little bit crazier than he has done so far. And now I just expect it's going to be one team fight, a Gold Fury or a Portal Demon, that will turn this game on its head completely and will actually have someone in the lead.
SoaR are playing as if they're playing on Team Dignitas' turf. You mentioned that that's sort of the EU style. We wait, we bait, and we kind of hang out, and we see what happens when it comes to Fate. But SoaR, on the other hand, like you said, they like to bang, they like to hang. Here, they draft a very late-game composition. Arco going to get out of jail right there with the Scylla and the Amaterasu.
Yep.
And Homie FA on the Kraken, more of a setup man rather than a I'm going to run you on the Thanatos.
Yeah, both him and Athena will be towards the late game, just be looking to set up as much as possible, peel for the back line. And to be fair, I'm expecting to see Homie more than likely. He's not his style, though, but I'm expecting him to be more aggressive.
Where's that hole from? I missed that. On Homie FA's build, he has the 2-starter on his boots, a hole, and then Voidstone.
Didn't exactly see where he went either, I'll be honest. Did not see exactly what he sold there. It wouldn't have been something too expensive, though, but I think it was just a transitional change to make sure he got the right items. With that Voidstone, though, it gives more power to his team, less power to the opposition on terms of defense right now as Jigs goes on the zeros for a second, but there's that quick disapparate that immediately gets him away from the danger.
Variety making the rotation after already taking out the tower on the right side. Not too big of a surprise there. Arlong Shen supposed to be able to have a little bit more push than the Athena.
Sure.
What's more important there than losing the tower is the fact that the Athena's nice and even with Mr. ES.
And the thing is, when you go into that lane match of Athena versus Arlong Shen, you're expecting to lose your tower. The question is, SoaR, we're like, okay, how much time can we buy before we lose this first tower on the right-hand side? Just under 17 minutes, it's not doom and gloom for them. They've got to a point now where everybody's a little bit healthier, got a couple of items online, and it means they can contest this next Gold Fury a little bit easier.
Athena not having the teleport means that tier 2, tier 1 tower on the right side is even less important. She's TPing to players, not the structure. At that point, it's just 500 gold.
But they have to play the game of who goes first, Erlang Shen teleport or Athena ultimate. If Variety can stay in this lane longer and potentially get a tier 2, that's helpful. Or if we can see the Athena come across beforehand, it can cause problems.
And Arlong Shen very deep on SoaR's side of the map, looking towards the blue buff, actually. Yeah, I'll turn back around and head towards the lane.
Yeah, really farm focus from both teams now. I expect about 22 minutes because I think that's when I see the next Gold Fury go down more often than not. And you are correct, though. SoaR's late game is a little bit better than that of Dignitas. I mean, Kurnox is a little bit unproven in the late stages of the game in terms of high-level competitive play. This is really the first event we get to see him in the highest terms at Masters. So we'll see how he does. I mean, we know he's got a late game in him. We know he's a potential hyper carry with the steroids he's got available to him.
Very important play right there. Final K executing the minion camp with the Hand of the Gods. That's very important for the Athena to have. And when it comes to the Kurnox, he is, in my opinion, the best hunter in the game. But as Ataraxia said ad nauseum yesterday, just a hunter. The impact that a hunter has in the game, late game, is very high, but it's not like some of the mages or some of the warriors. And so he's just a hunter. I think that Teamfight Ultimate and the Bramble shot can actually impact the teamfight a lot, just like a Medusa, but he's just a hunter. And I really want to stress that fact because I don't think he can single-handedly change a game despite being arguably the best hunter in the game. Does that make sense?
It does. Betty on the left-hand side just met that Bramble Blush now. Here comes Cubo Fred, rotating over to the left-hand side now. In comes Homie FA with a blink onto Arkill. The beads are down, the Aegis is down, the Tremors are wrecking through.
Rick's tank coming through on the right-hand side. He might be able to change this one. Gets the root onto 2 players. Still a 4-on-3. Variety makes this a 4-on-4. Jigs is going to get rooted, but a meditation heals up SoaR, baby.
Fury. SoaR can go for the Gold Fury right now. There's only 3 members here of Dignitas able to defend this one right now. And Variety and Zeros both heading towards the mid lane where Andy's already there to farm. The problem is that because Andy just showed presence in mid, SoaR can't even attempt the gold. I'm surprised they didn't look at that, especially because Andy has the I'm a Monster and there is a Wrath available in a few seconds' time, or should I say Hand of the Gods for Fine OK.
Yeah, very interesting decision process there. And the Gold Fury will be started by the red team. Vedium's here and local, but the Gold Fury already down. Team Dignitas successfully get it. Andy popped up in the ultimate, and for the second time this game, won't be able to use it.
Don't understand what SoaR were thinking there. They all left the Gold Fury at the same time. They knew Dignitas were hanging around the area. They had a chance to start it themselves if they wanted to go for it. Instead, they just leave it to Dignitas, who take their second Gold Fury. And now it's up to SoaR to try and go for the Portal Demon to answer this back.
But even still, Dignitas are here and local. You know what? Let's ride along with the black and yellow Team Dignitas as they try to disrupt.
Nice out. Chill. Portal. I've healed too. I'm zoning.
Nuke it. Stop it.
Get it.
Then I go on it.
Face.
Nice.
Back.
Get timers.
Fuck out of left. What the fuck out of left lane?
Get fucking levels, bro.
Go FG. Go FG.
Oh my.
Just back.
I'm gonna get the D-boss. Come on, do D-boss for me, boss. One team for it.
And you
Team up here, Harry.
Look for him.
I come back. Cover.
Look for him.
Cover.
Kill him.
I have ult soon. Go on him. Keep going. Commit.
Capra.
Get Capra here.
Nice.
Push left. Go.
Go back to FG. Go back to FG.
Reset. Go backwards and go in again.
I'm getting this mid camp.
Go back someone. If you need to back, then back now.
Back in.
Now, I have ult up. We can
Back.
I'm fine.
fade the fight.
So we get a little bit of a taste of what we're talking about. Team Dignitas, they successfully go ahead and take away the Portal Demon. They get the kill on the Kraken, but right away you hear that sort of devolution. Back. Yo, if you want to back, just do it.
I'm okay, but I hear commit. That's the one word I was looking at. I'm talking about commitment. They're committing on Jigs.
And he's in a deep... Oh, wow. That's just that. That'll be another notch for Arkle, number 4 on Team Dignitas, taking down the support.
And this is just Dig grouping up as a 5 right now. SoaR don't know how to answer this back. I'm quite surprised that SoaR don't go to try and help out a little bit more. They've got Athena with taunts, they've got Scylla with roots. Just a crush damage on its own could turn a fight when they're grouped up that tight.
You know what? You changed my mind in the matter of 1 second. I hate when teams try to help out the person that's clearly dead, because what are you going to do? Toss a crush underneath them? But you're right. Everybody on SoaR's a support.
But look at this. The Fire Giant is already below down to 25%. Homie with the hero run won't make it.
Team Dignitas get the Fire Giant. Vedium shows up with a great Petrify, but it's far too late. Zeros takes one out thanks to Soul. Arkle picks one up. The True Hunter, Variety gets one as well. Everybody eating.
The boy that lived is still alive in the back, but I don't think that tier 2 tower on the right will be. 5 members of Dignitas with the Fire Giant as well. I said 22 minutes, by the way. It wasn't a real team fight as such.
Oh, no.
But I was right.
Oh,
the script is still going.
Oh, we're going to hear about this. We are going to hear about this.
It's like
one.
I've casted games before, you know?
No.
I can see it coming.
You haven't casted anything.
I know.
Andy, 1-man army versus 4. Fortunately, this game doesn't give Andy extra benefits for being 1-man army. The 4 players taking out the Phoenix on the right-hand side. That one gonna be free.
And now we've what Zeros did in the mid lane too. He pressured Jigs back, make sure that tower is not going to be available for them. They can even swing to mid immediately without having to back, unless they choose to back, which is an option available to them. There's
If
extra
you want
gold
to
in the banks.
back right now.
Okay, I will.
Listen, back.
Okay.
Fine, just back.
To be fair, it was more like this, and it was Trix who was saying that as well for you guys at home. Trix was trying to make them use the portal. That's what he wanted to do.
Exactly.
He was like, listen, don't mess me around, because I want you through this portal as quick as you can. Go home, shop, and come back quick. Okay? Do a quick shop run.
That's what he does at LAN anyway.
Pretty much.
Goes home quickly and shops. Trix a really fun individual. Loves to have fun. And right now, him and his team absolutely having a lot of fun. 23 minutes on the clock. That's a minute later than the script says. 7-2. And Team Dignitas up by 12,000 gold, give or take.
I don't want to be too rude towards SoaR here, but they've not actually done anything since the start of the game.
No.
And that's my worry comes from, because Homie, I think, got off to a fantastic start. He pressured left-hand side. He pressured around where he could. A couple of ward drops. But then, as soon as those Kraken notes have been used, that was it. It seems that SoaR was just like, okay, we'll sit back and farm now, but you can't just keep giving things up over and over again.
I don't mean to keep bringing it up to slander Andy, but once or twice you'll see the Scylla ult pop up and go, oh, we don't have the situation. We've seen this Scylla ultimate be used not defensively and still not come up with anything far too many times for that to actually be the pick. I'm just not happy with the Scylla in this game right here. Big attack coming out of Team Dignitas left-hand side. Jigs is in trouble, half HP, he's rooted, he's knocked up as well, and Kimmo Fred puts him in the ground.
Just look at how SoaR just running away right now, leaving every man for themselves because they've used their ultimates and they can't stop the advance of Dignitas. The second Phoenix goes down, and Dig have only got one more they need.
Listen, man, Robin in the jungle has been the gamble. And
oh my lord. Oh, by the way, why Soul? That's why Soul. That was a Scylla. At least the stain on the floor is anyway.
Out of this world. Just gone. Wherever she was, she's left one place. And that's your dreams and that's your heart. Right now, Team Dignitas have some other dream, and it's going to be game 1.
Go back to what you said about the Soul build too. He went Fatalis, and then I thought he was going to do that. Went for full power, but used the Fatalis for the mobility. Gives you some penetration as well.